Hello there, guys. Manchester City have lost to Leeds 2-1, and it was disappointing. Of course, it was disappointing. Of course, it was frustrating. But sometimes life is disappointing, and sometimes life is frustrating despite you being absolutely brilliant at what you possibly do. I mean, I can only speak for myself. I felt like I've been on cloud nine before, personally, with loads of things in life, done really well, and all of a sudden made the biggest mistake I've ever done. I did that recently, actually. I did that very recently with something personally as well, linked to YouTube, where everything was going really well, and I made a big mistake about something that you'll never know about. But it can cost you, and it's life. It doesn't mean you are bad at what you do. It just means it happens, and it means life goes on. And today, you can have your say as well. If you want to chat about the game today, this fan view live, if you're watching and you remember, so I can see a couple of members already in your chat, like Andrew and Saffy, and so on. If you want to get on and have a chat with me, you're more than welcome to. It's for members and second tier patrons above that as well, anyone in the Slack group. But members, if you are a member, if you go to youtube.com/esteem company and go to the community tab, you'll see a link to join in there so you can get involved and have your say on the game. I suspect some of us will disagree, but life is all about disagreements, and life is all about well, it makes life fun. It makes life interesting. If we all agreed on everything, then what would be the point in that? Either way, I've got a couple of people waiting already, and I'll get over to them in a second. But for now, though, I want to say thank you for watching these videos, and make sure to hit the subscribe button. And once again, youtube.com/Esteem Company/join if you want to become a member and have your say, because then you can see the community tab section where it's got members only posts over on there. Right, let's get into this. I've got James waiting. Let's go over to Legan Cow. Hello, my friend. Hello, my friend.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
Hello. I think I'm not bad. I'm probably better the fact that I didn't watch the game.
Oh, so you're not even to the game.
No, I didn't even watch the game. All I've seen is the red card.
Oh, okay. Oh, so I can't really even ask your thoughts on the game then, man. Really?
Not really.
No.
Like,
So
all I've seen is the red card. Of course, I'm disappointed. Of course, I'm disappointed at the result. And I've seen Twitter.
I guess I can ask you a couple of questions. It's hard to talk about the game, otherwise, understandably.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is that what do you make of Guardiola's decision to essentially rest a whole bunch of players today?
In terms of resting them for, like I said, like Dortmund midweek, I understand that. However, I wouldn't have quite wanted that level of rotation that I did today.
Yeah. So you felt it was too much. Why? What would you have liked to see instead?
Well, like I'd have liked to have seen to like. It was like that was by no. Also, the team that went out today was by no means a strong team. Like it was a strong team, but in terms of City levels, that's made like a stronger team that we should be beating.
I mean, it's hard for me to say much more because you didn't see the game, man. So like, I can't really ask you much more than that because it's one of those things.
I didn't see the game. I mean, I don't even really know much about what. I mean, I saw the team and I saw there was 7 changes.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of changes because I feel like it was necessary personally, man. Like,
I mean,
it might be worth
you
always
need to make changes. But
yeah.
I mean, I thought just like the way how many changes we made was a bit excessive.
Well, Legan, I'm going to go and get some. I'm going to go and chat to Saffy because he saw the game. If that's all right, because we obviously need to chat about the game because it's a reaction to the match. If that's all right, but go and watch the highlights. If you catch it up, maybe come back on in a bit because I'll be alive for a little bit. For now, though, it'd be good. Obviously, because we're chatting about the game. So I'm going to go chat to Saffy because obviously I want to chat about some moments with the game, and it's obviously hard to do given that you didn't catch it yourself, man. So okay, I'll catch you in a bit. Okay.
Maybe just bring me back in like towards the end.
Go and catch
towards the end, and I'll like because like there are some things that I want to chat out.
Okay. Well, I'll catch you in a bit, man. Okay.
Yeah, just bring me in like later on.
Yeah.
Right.
No worries. Bye. Saffy, hello, welcome to the stream. Hopefully you caught the game, man.
Yeah.
Hopefully you did. Yeah, James, love you, pal. But obviously we need to chat about the game because like it's hard to discuss otherwise. You know, if we haven't all watched the game, it's just difficult to talk about the game basically, as if possible. Without trying to wait too much, what was your gut reaction at full time, mate? How are you feeling?
To be honest, at halftime I wasn't worried. I thought we were still gonna win it. I was like, okay. But even at the end, it was 1-1. I was like, okay, you know what? I mean, I'm not gonna dwell over it. We have Dortmund midweek changes. I don't see why people could complain about the changes. We have to make these in order to keep the squad fresh for Dortmund. Like we haven't gotten past the quarterfinal in so long, and that is almost a priority. This is like the biggest game of our season coming up. So the changes, we've done it. We've done it all year, and we're 14 points clear. So you can't blame Pep for that. It's no one's fault. It just sometimes it doesn't work out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, now to be honest, mate, like I think I've had the same viewpoint as you, but still, I'm going to play devil's advocate anyway because there's no point us sitting here just nodding, agreeing with each other. So, was there not an argument? And I've seen people mention to this myself. Was there not an argument for bringing on a Mahrez or a De Bruyne with 20 minutes left or something like that? Because obviously, we're giving United hope, and I don't really think they have any hope personally, but we are giving them hope. I can't deny that. Do you think we should have brought on someone like that towards the end?
Honestly, I didn't want to do it, but I seen after the game when Kevin De Bruyne was looking from the side, he was frustrated. When after he seen they scored the second goal, he was like, he was so mad. I seen that he was just like, I guess him and Mars were beside each other, and he was just pissed off, and he went back to the bench. So, I mean, yeah, I think Mars should have came on definitely because there was no urgency. We were getting the ball. John Stones was coming up. We got space, but in the end. I mean, I didn't. There was after we scored that first goal, there wasn't any clear-cut chances, really, was there? I mean, we had chances to cross the ball, but I didn't really see it.
It was more pressure, wasn't it, man? It was more pressure than chances, I would say. It was like it was just like we had an awful lot of territorial. To be honest, it got hard with 10 men because there was less space, also, wasn't there? Like it felt like they were just sitting back, man. Like they were sitting back, and it becomes hard to break down an organised team with energy, and we know obviously Leeds have energy, and it was difficult. But it is what it is, I guess. One of those days. I mean, was there any positives for you from that game in particular?
Ferran Torres, I think with his goal, I mean, I'm happy for him. I actually like him, man. I think he can grow up to be a good player. He has a lot of potential, Ferran.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, it's just a day to forget. We just have to focus on the Dortmund game now because today was just a day to forget. It's not a game that we're gonna look back on at the end of the season. I mean, they can cut it down to 8 points, but I don't think they'll beat Spurs tomorrow. So I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we're still gonna win the league, hopefully, and yeah. I mean, I think it's 11 points we need, so that's through 4 wins.
So let me have a look at the Premier League table now. United, where are we? So I'm going to have to do some quick maths. You'd probably be right there, by the way. And do you know that as a fact, or are you just trying to work it out?
It's a fact. I've seen it on the thing.
So United can get 24 more points from their remaining games. We can get 18, and we are currently 14. So even if they win their 2 games in hand, they are 8 points. They have.
Yes.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah. So we only need 3 more wins, I think. 3 more. I mean that's presuming they win all the games as well, which their fixtures aren't good. They're not good. They've got a relatively difficult bunch of fixtures, man. Like so, that's something that I'm not trying to be naive here, but I think everyone's acting like United are going to win the next 8 games in a row, which
that's the thing. It's because I guess it's because the club, maybe on social media and stuff, it's more United fans just coming. Like it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
You look at United's form recently. They beat in the league. They beat Brighton. They beat West Ham. Definitely. They obviously beat us. But then they drew 2 games against Palace and Chelsea. They drew 1 against West Brom and Everton. And Arsenal, they've won a few games. They got beat by Sheffield United, so they are in decent form in the league. But they are definitely not. They don't look ready to win 8 games in a row, is what I will say. And that's not me being naive, but they've got literally Spurs away. Burnley's never, they should be beat Burnley, but Leeds away, Liverpool, Villa away, Leicester, a relegation fighting Fulham. Then they got Wolves away on the last day of the season. So, like, I personally wouldn't say it's a stroll for them. It's not like we're presuming they're going to win it, and win a bunch of games. But I wouldn't be surprised if they drop points in at least 3 of those games.
Yeah.
So, what did you make of? Go on, mate. Go on, get
I was gonna say for me, United, they don't have that steamrolling mentality where they can do that because they don't have that. The way they play, it's not like a team sits back 8 times in a row, you're gonna win that game. United are just that team that out of 4 games they'll win 2 out of 4 because sometimes they just get too scrappy and they don't have that steamrolling mentality that we had when we went on that huge run.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's the thing for me. Is United. I mean, if this was Liverpool, by the way, under Klopp, a couple of years back, where they're winning games in a row, I would understand that. But maybe this is famous last words, and maybe this clip will throw them back in our faces one day. But it doesn't feel like United are winning 8 games in a row and City losing the next 5 kind of team. That it just feels like a big leap. And the way I saw it is we took a big risk today, but it was necessary. And,
Yeah, if we beat Dortmund, it just goes away,
Oh,
If
no
we-
one cares anymore if you beat
Yeah,
them.
no
That's the
one's gonna
thing. We're not
care
bothered.
exactly.
And
But
then
the thing is, at the same time, you might there's gonna be arguments about does that kill the mood? Because like I said before, De Bruyne was pissed off at the end, right? So does that kind of kill the mood? You don't know, but yeah.
To be honest, it's one of those things where you would have thought the United game would have killed the mood, but it didn't. We kept on, didn't we? We kept on, and then and to be honest, yeah, I feel like they'll just. I feel like City will. The senior players, the ones who sat out today, I say senior ones, the first choice ones, they'll be going, well, they lost today because we weren't playing. If anything, I wouldn't be surprised if they feel a little bit smug about it, and because footballers are quite, they're very full of themselves, footballers. So I wouldn't be surprised if De Bruyne, Diaz, Gundogan and Foden are like, well, if they'd had us today from the start, we maybe would have won this. So, if anything, maybe it's more of a point to prove them. What did you make of Zinchenko today in midfield, by the way?
Zinchenko, I think he was just he's positionally he was decent. I mean, I can't really complain, but sometimes he was just he didn't have the quality that you would see from other players. He didn't have any. I mean, he had a couple of shots on goal. It was okay. I rate their goalkeeper. He's actually a good keeper.
Yeah.
But
he's only young as well, man. He had some good saves, didn't he?
Yeah, he looks really young. But I just think Zinchenko, the left back, is his place now. In our system, in the midfield for him is just it doesn't really suit him because he's not that technical of a player. He's more of a player in space. He can do a lot, but I don't think in midfield is his role at all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he was particularly bad today, but he's probably got a difficult task getting ahead of Fernandinho and Rodri regularly now. I thought he was all right personally, but I definitely understand where you're coming from there. Either way, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. I'm gonna get Joe in now. Joe, who's waiting as well. Catch you soon, Saffy, mate. Thank you very much. See you later, dude. I'm going to come to Joe in a second. I would say he might be quite backlit. We'll see here. I can see him in the green room. Here he is. Hello. How you doing, man? You all right?
How's it going? Yeah.
I'm not too bad.
Yeah.
Go on.
One of those games.
Go on, Joe.
One of those.
Give us,
one of those. I don't.
Where are you?
I don't know. It's annoying. Ultimately, I need to caveat everything I'm about to say with I know where we are in the league, and I know why Pep's rotated the team, and I know. I understand completely the squad that he put out there. I agreed with it. I was happy before the game with what he'd done. I actually put out beforehand as well that I would kind of take. I didn't expect that team to beat Leeds, but I was quite willing to accept that if it meant that we would go on to sort of do the job against Dortmund and everything like that in midweek. So if we don't after that result, then well, you still can't say he's made a mistake with today's lineup, even if we don't, because we've got the best chance of beating Dortmund now. But there are definitely some concerns from that game for me. I think
what's concerning? That wasn't already obvious, if that makes sense.
I think for me the problem is that, and I know that it's a disjointed team that squad of 11 players has never played together, and that midfield 3 is a brand new midfield 3. So I can understand why there would be disjointed performances
very
there.
Big caveats.
Yeah, but I think in terms of the front 3, Ferran Torres maybe gets a pass because it's his first season, and wingers in the first season with Pep usually have a bit of a hard time with things, and also, he's come off the back of having COVID this year as well, which I suppose Gabriel Jesus has as well, to be fair. But for me, it's just that front 3 did not do enough today. It was, as individuals, I think they're all good enough to have done something against 10 men Leeds, and the fact that they didn't is a bit of a frustration for me.
I mean, what I will say is you're right. Obviously, they are more than good enough. Though I don't think we learned anything new. I mean, they played today because they're not playing well. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
And that's why they played today. So at the same, essentially, we're frustrated because they're not better, even though we know they're not better. Did that make sense? So it's one of those things where like it's like essentially we're annoyed at what we know because it's still what we know. It's like because I know we want Sterling to be better and Jesus to be better, but they're not massively informed at the moment, and they played like people who need informed people around them. If that makes sense, that's how I see it. And like I understand the frustrations, but like essentially. At the crux of it, what are we complaining about? Like that's a genuine question. Like, are we complaining that they're just not good enough right now? Is that I mean, do you know what I'm saying by that? Is like, are we annoyed that Pep picked them, or are we annoyed that we want them to be better, and then we're disappointed that they were not better, even though we expect them not to be? Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, I know what you mean, and this is where I've kind of got a real like because I completely agree with that, but I am also frustrated with it at the same time. So it's like a really tough balancing act to really sort of because I do think that team, especially when you consider the fact that regardless of how disjointed we did look, we did still create a good number of chances.
And 29 shots to 2, which is exactly. There's no way that should be anything other than a 3-0 victory or something, really.
Exactly, and the fact that we played again in the second half against 10 men and still didn't get a result, like no matter the rotation, like that is, to me, that is not an issue because it's not something that's going to really matter long term. This is a very one-off game in terms of like team selection and stuff like that. But it's just a bit frustrating to come away from a game like that and not be taking at least a point. Like I thought a draw, if we'd have got a draw at the end of that, I thought because Leeds did genuinely defend quite well for the despite the fact that we did have 29 shots, it restricted us to quite difficult chances.
It's hard to play against a team, and I'm not trying to make an excuse. It's hard to play against a team who has a famous organizer, who in a team that famously has energy with 10 men. It becomes very difficult. So, but even then, we should have done better. We should have done better. But I thought we were always going to score and equalise, and we did it happen. I didn't expect us to lose, but I always felt we'd equalise. But when he went 10 men, I actually thought this might be quite difficult now because it's just hard.
Yeah.
And so onto this game then, like where do you stand with Sterling now? Because Sterling's the most divisive person in the City world right now. That's unquestionable. We all know, though I do think some people have forgotten how good he can be. But I say we all know. We all do know, even if we don't remember. We all know how good he can be. But it is fair to say he's felt inconsistent for an awful long time now. I would say a year is probably fair. Even last season, he was a bit frustrating every now and then, but he still scored 30 goals in a season where everyone underwhelmed. But, you know, right now, he's trying to renegotiate as someone who should be, in theory, about to earn an awful lot of money. But currently, he's a backup player. And I say backup player with, not literally, he's not Eric Garcia, but I mean...
he's not in our strongest 11 at the moment.
Well, the one thing I would say, what he knows, is that if he does put 3 or 4 very good games together, all of a sudden he's a starter again because he's Raheem Sterling. And that's the thing. So where do we stand with Sterling now? Like, I mean, where do you stand with Sterling? Well, how does this affect his contract? What happens?
I think ultimately long-term contract-wise, it's not going to really change much. They're not going to go, well, you've been crap for the last 2 months, so we're not going to give you this contract you want. I don't think it'll ultimately affect the negotiations, I would imagine, because we all know what he can do, and Pep will know what he can do. The club knows what he can do. Next season, when we've got an actual striker for him to play off for most of the time as well, which is where he gets a lot of his space from that he usually does so well in, because a striker is occupying the middle. He'll do quite well coming in from the left or from wide, and he's not really had that this season. So I understand that. However, when there's been stories about you kicking off with the manager over game time, however serious that kickoff may or may not have been. When you've been complaining about the lack of game time, and he was interviewed by Ferdinand before the game, wasn't he, on the BT coverage, and he was asked about like basically Ferdinand asked him like, oh, you know, you're kind of being rotated at the moment, and I've been in that position in my career before. Like, what do you think of it? And he was like, he had a face that said, I'm not happy with it, but he just said it's just the manager's decision. Like, I've just got to accept it. Blah blah blah. And I think when you're in a position where you're giving off that kind of vibe, you can't be putting out, no matter what the team around you is, they're the games that you, as a player who is like, I'm one of the big superstars in this team, has to take by the scruff of the neck. Like, you've got to do a lot better in these kind of games. And the fact that it wasn't even that... I've watched games where Sterling's run into a lot of blind alleys before. He's just run into defenders a lot of the time. The Liverpool game is a prime example where he spent the first half an hour or so just running into Trent Alexander-Arnold. However, he kept doing it, and it worked eventually. He won us a penalty. He created another one of the goals out of doing that same kind of movement as well. So that's fine. But I think a game like today, he was trying that, but he wasn't. It didn't look like he was really applying himself off the ball very well. It looked like he'd run into a defender, and then he'd sort of throw his arms up, and then just like, oh well, I tried. And it's
what's behind it, man? What's behind it in your opinion?
I think it's a bit of, I mean, in terms of today's performance particularly, I think it probably does have a lot to do with the team that he was involved in, like this very second string 11. But I think generally of the performance that he's a player who probably needs playing back into form. But the problem is that at this point of the season where we've got, you know what I mean? We can't afford to carry a player who's trying to get back into form. We probably need to play 11 top in the important games like Wednesday, for example. We need to play everyone who's on it. We don't need to be putting Sterling in there and just hoping that he picks his form back up again. We need to sort of be, played. I think if this was maybe last season we saw it as well, didn't we? He had a couple of months where it was really awful last season, like over the sort of winter period. But because he kept playing him, he worked his way back into form eventually. But I think at the moment he's in a position where we've got Foden who can play out there. We've got Mahrez who's playing so well on the right that he can't be dropped.
That's
and I think
part of it, by the way. Do you wonder if that's part of it? Because Sterling, I'm trying to choose my words carefully because I don't think he's.
He doesn't like competition.
But I wouldn't be surprised if Sterling is quite. Most footballers are full of themselves a bit, you know.
Yeah.
He's been the star boy for a while, and I'm genuinely trying to choose my words carefully because I'm not trying to criticize him, because obviously I know footballers live in a bubble that we can't compare our lives to theirs because it's ultra competitive and it's ultra testosterone, it's all for alpha male nonsense, if you know what I mean. So basically, I'm aware in the grand scheme of things, I'm not saying he's Ronaldo level prissy and privileged or entitled or whatever.
Yeah.
But even though Ronaldo deserves to be for what it's worth, but I'm not saying he's like that where everything has to come through him. But I do wonder if Sterling, you got to bear in mind, like I'm just speculating here, so I am literally just kind of throwing random ideas out. But Foden, unassuming Stockport lad, come from Manchester City fan, and it feels like he's got more love now than Sterling, just like that. And Sterling has scored hundreds of goals, 100 goals for us, and been absolutely giving us some of our biggest moments. Genuinely has. And do you wonder if there's an element of like his place has been dislodged and he's just a little bit jealous? Like, is there anything to that? Or I don't know. Or maybe he doesn't quite know how to accept. Also, I don't know, because I don't want to call him these things. I'm not sure if it's true or not, so it's hard to say. But I'm trying to wonder if there's a fact of like, also he's got competition, and also he's out the team. And do you think he's?
I think there's going to be a bit of all of that. I think there'll be an element of his ego's taken a bit of a hit because he's gone from being like one of Pep's first names on the team sheet to being someone who's now finding himself on the bench.
It's worth. Yeah, anyone would feel it, but yeah.
Yeah, but I think as well as that, it's just a case of I don't know. It's difficult. It's difficult to really say. I think it's just he's gone from being that first name on the team sheet, like I said, to just having to fight for his place again. And I think that can be something quite difficult for a lot of football. Like Aguero had to adjust to that when Pep arrived, didn't he?
He looked moody as well for a while, didn't he? As well.
Yeah. And there's maybe there's another part of just Sterling's due an off year. Like he's had 25 plus goals or something stupid like that for the last 3 or 4 years before, like since Pep's arrived. Like one bad year maybe isn't that big of a deal, but it's like last winter again. It's like it's so bad that it's like playing with 10 men when he's playing at the moment, and it's just
I can't deny that, man.
And that's frustrating when you know what he is capable. Like De Bruyne, I've seen, and obviously Kev is top 3 players in the world at the moment. This is probably an unfair standard to hold Sterling to, but I've seen De Bruyne put in maybe 2 or 3 below 5 out of 10 performances in his entire career at City, and I've seen Sterling do maybe like 9 or 10 in the last 12 months, and it's just frustrating.
2 of those De Bruyne performances have been recently when he was post
exactly,
injury,
yeah, and one of those was one was West Ham, one was the Derby, maybe. Like it's just and it's just to see a player like Sterling, it's because we know how good Sterling can be. That what he's doing at the moment is so frustrating, and that's not living up to your own high standards is probably the worst thing for a footballer. Yeah,
and for me as well is I always feel like the thing Sterling's most guilty of is the thing that most fans hate more than anything in football, missing a sitter. And there's nothing that gets a more visceral, angry reaction out of a fan. Like nothing does. Like you could get sent off, you could give a sloppy pass away or score an own goal. There's nothing that gets a more visceral, for fuck's sake, than missing a sitter. Nothing.
Honestly, I said some regrettable things when he missed that goal against Lyon last year. It was just like it's like you say, that is the biggest especially for an attacker. That is the biggest fan irritant that you can do. And yeah, exactly.
And then at the moment when you add his so basically he's always been a bit like that, but he never bothered us quite as much, because at the moment now though he's possibly the second most frustrating trait in football, which is just running into people, and he's doing that a lot as well. So if you're adding that with that, all of a sudden you've got very little where to go. But basically, what I will say is, like, we need him to improve. We do. I don't think he's got a chance of starting unless someone else is really unfit unless he has an incredible
Foden and Mahrez surely start midweek.
I don't think he has a chance of starting now the next 2 games unless it's necessary. Because that's a big shame given the fact where he's come from. Because Sterling was always at one point a guaranteed starter in big games, and it feels like recently dropped. But Joe, mate, I've got a few people waiting, so I'm going to get to them if that's all right. But I'll catch you. Catch you, man. See you
Lovely
later,
stuff, right? See you later.
Bye-bye. Rehan, I can see you in there. I'm going to come to you, mate, if that's good. If you're ready, it's good to chat to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hi,
it's good to meet you, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, finally. I mean, absolutely overwhelmed, actually. So first time I've ever done this, so I'm a bit nervous, but yeah.
Nothing to be nervous about, mate. We're just people chatting about football. Don't worry. Like, it's honestly, like, the only thing is, it's gutting that it's today. You know, I wish you could sit here and rant about how brilliant we are, which you're entitled to do, by the way. But I guess I wish you could do that on another day. It makes it a bit more difficult. Whereabouts are you, man?
So I'm from Ashford in Kent. So just a quickie, I've supported Man City since 1981, since the FA Cup final against Tottenham. So I followed them for a very long time. Yeah. So that's my history. So wherever possible, I've followed Man City, you know, and I've always been a blue from a very young age. So I'm not one of those new supporters who's just jumped on the bandwagon. So a lot of people that know me, they know me for supporting Man City in the dark old days, you know.
They were definitely dark.
Absolutely, but look, going on to today, what I take away from it is, you know, we're the only team, I guess, in all the divisions and in all the everywhere in Europe that can actually manage to change 7 players or 8 players in a game, or 5, 6 players. You know, this is phenomenal. So I think, you know, there will be hitches. I mean, there will be times where we will lose a game, but if we maintained a regular 11, then I don't think we would have got as far as we have in all the competitions. So let's not be downhearted. You know, this is how teams play against us. You know, they counter attack. They look for that one opportunity, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, it's one of those things where something has to give, unfortunately, and the saying is you can't have your cake and eat it, which is it's true. And I guess that was the point today. I mean, we are where we are because Pep has been making these gambles, you know, these risks and these rotations. And at this point of the season, you have to look at games and go, which one's more important? And I guess they decided today was less important, and we rotated. Did we over-rotate? Well, where do you stand on that? Because I know that split the fan base, and I've made my opinion pretty clear, but I'm not. I definitely don't think I'm definitely right. You know, like obviously I believe my opinions, but did we over-rotate today? Would you have liked to see maybe a slightly less rotated team?
I think you've got to strike a balance, isn't it? Look, Ake's not played much as he's come back from injury, but I guess he wanted to get him out there and give him some game time, and I think this was the correct opportunity to do so. Look, if we'd won the game, we'd have a totally different mindset. We'd say, yes, Pep's played another masterstroke. It's part of the game, and I guess we need this rotation. We've got an important run in the next month or so. We need everyone to be fit. We need everyone to be ready for it, and I guess for the players themselves as well, they need that recuperation. The only thing I would say we just need to be a little bit more cautious about is United have got 2 games in hand now. which if they win a couple of them, then it just puts a little bit more pressure on us to making sure the next couple of games we do win. That's what I'd be mindful of moving forward.
All eyes on tomorrow. All eyes on tomorrow, then, I guess. I mean, you're definitely right. I mean, I can't see him winning 8 games in a row. Stranger things have happened. So, but they're definitely capable of winning a couple of games. And I guess even if we win the league, I guess we don't need the pressure on another front. I think that's probably fair, isn't it? We don't need the pressure of having to think about the league. You know, like, we want to get it done, basically, don't we, as soon as possible? But rocking a hard place, really, because then you've got, you know, also a semi-final and a quarter-final to kind of face up as well. And we've got a final coming up soon. And it's like I guess what I would say, and I'm not sure if you think this is a fair conclusion, when we've got this many big games and this many things to balance, a mistake was going to happen. And I'm personally happy it was today. Is that an oversimplification? I don't know. I'd
rather it today than on Wednesday, to be honest. Let's get that bad performance out of the way, and let's concentrate on what's going to come on Wednesday, because obviously going away on Wednesday is not going to be an easy task. I mean, they certainly will be up for it, even though they're not going to have the fan base behind them. It's going to be a tricky time. I mean, we need to score that away goal.
This is a big super chat from Cass BA. Thank you so much, pal. I really, really appreciate it. And this is something I've argued a few times, actually. I'm interested to see what you think on this, Rhian. And I'll offer my thoughts briefly as well, but then I'll see what your take on this. And Cass says, Sterling plays far better with a world-class striker. You see with Kane for England, Aguero for City, and Suarez Liverpool, Haaland can benefit him. I agree with that, because I've said before, previously in the past, in fact, you want to go for the super chat, mate. I've said before in the past that I feel like Sterling struggles when the weight of the goal-scoring expectation as a side is on his shoulders. And when it's previously been on Aguero's shoulders or whatever, we don't really mind the little misses here and there because Aguero's already bagged 2, so we're not asked. When it's on Sterling and he's in the centre, he's more likely to miss those chances, and therefore, but he's more likely to be in those spots as well because Aguero's not there. So that's what I would say. I actually think there's something in that. And I do think Sterling's best time is when he's playing with better players and he has less to do. I'm not sure, once again, that could be an oversimplification, but I do think there's something in expecting him to be a striker when there's not. Do you think that's fair, or do you think he should be doing better anyway, Riham?
I think with Sterling, it is down to confidence, isn't it? I think if we go back maybe a month or two, there was something which was floating around this. There was a little bit of a bad communication between him and Pep. And if you remember, he was left out for a couple of games. And I think there is something to take away from that. Look, Sterling has taken us out of a few holes in the past. And I think the form dip is for a reason. I think something has happened. And I think with other players stepping up as well, that's not really helped him. But I guess football is also about confidence.
What do you mean by that, Rehan? Not really helped him?
So someone like Gundogan, who's predominantly a midfielder, a holding midfielder, has now got 16 goals. So Sterling would probably be looking at that and thinking, you know, why am I not in that category right now? Why am I not banging those goals in? Obviously, that's affected his confidence. That, you know, what goes on behind closed doors, we're not aware of. But obviously, there must be undue pressure on him as well. It can lead to people losing what they probably had before, and that is the quality and to think quickly onto what they're going to do. And I think this is what Sterling suffers sometimes. He's too rash, doesn't take his time. You know, I think it's all down to confidence, basically, and I think it will come back.
No, I agree. It's psychological. I mean, one thing I will say is that regardless of everything we discussed, and we talked about the idea of need a striker, I don't think there's any excuse for his poor touch. I don't think there's any excuse for running into people. I think he has to be better than that. Even if he's missing chances, he has to be more involved, I would say, if he's beating people, because you can allow him bad finishes because that's very instinctive, but I do think he has to be better. And to be honest, if he's got a problem with his confidence, which is very likely and it happens to everyone, there's an element of tough luck to it. You know, like, with all due respect, I'll allow him to have a bad spell, but eventually he has to find his way through it. If he wants to be seen as the top player that we know he can be and get back to that point, he has to find it from within himself, essentially, doesn't he? I mean, it's one of those things where we can turn around and be fair and go like, okay, he's struggling, it's confidence, he'll come back. But you can also turn around and go, that's very true. But also on the other side of the same coin is like, well, he has to fight. It's on him to get back, because it's not like it's not like he's got difficult conditions in this team. You know, he plays with brilliant players, with a manager that defends him to the high heavens, that has played him more than pretty much anyone. I think he's possibly the most played player since Guardiola joined as well. So there's an element of where I don't feel sorry for him for the form, but at the same time, the form's eventually on him. So how? I don't know. There's no answer to this. I was going to ask how long do we put up with this form, but then how long's a piece of string? I guess it's one of those things where it's hard to say. But like, do you?
But Steve, the thing is, sorry, I would just say the saving grace for him right now is, are City reliant on him too much? They're not, because there are other players that are stepping up. So therefore, the dip in form isn't going to affect the balance of the team. If the team's form was pretty rotten and he was part of it, then yes, it adds more pressure. So that pressure is slightly taken off him in regards to the current situation.
So is it something then, in your opinion, that it's shit, but we accept it, and hopefully you just give him time to play through it? Is it as simple as that for you, in your opinion?
I guess so, yes. It's something that he needs to probably work harder in training. But as I say, Pep is not heavily reliant on him. I mean, he didn't even bring him on against Dortmund the other night. He didn't need to, because that shows that there's no real trust in him in an important game at the present moment, because he knows himself that his form is below his expected level. He will come back to form, but we don't know when.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw someone say Sterling, what he earns is a joke, and it's probably worth pointing out that he literally won the PFA Young Player of the Year, the Football Writers Association Player of the Year. He was nominated in the FIFA World 11 at one point. He has won countless things with Manchester City, scored important goals, and scored over 100 goals for Manchester City as well. So the reason he's getting paid what he paid is because of what he did previously. It's worth pointing that out, not what he's doing right now, because his form's bad. But at one point, he looked like he's going to be a 30-goal a season player every single season. You know, and that is worth its weight in gold, isn't it? It really is. But I do agree that he has to go about there. Rehan, I'm going to get Farsad in, that's all right, because Farsad's been sat waiting for a while. But it's great to meet you, man, by the way. Thank you so much for your time, honestly. And thank you so much for your support, mate. I genuinely appreciate it. Catch you soon. Come back on. Good to have you again. In a bit, mate. See you later. Right, I'm coming for you, Farsad. Hope you're ready, mate. Oh, I've still got... there we go. How you doing, mate? You all right? You good?
Okay, man. How are you?
I've been better. I've been better. It's not the perfect day. Whereabouts in the world are you, man? And how are you feeling today?
Singapore.
Nice, beautiful place. Me and Nicola want to visit there one day, by the way.
Hopefully you definitely should. It's a great place.
Jenny looks brilliant. What did you make of today, man? What did you make of today?
It wasn't great, but then to be honest, as soon as the lineup came out, I was kind of I don't want to say I was expecting it, but I didn't think it was gonna be our best performance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because I'm sure I'm not alone in this. Just the first leg against Dortmund, it was a good result. Good to get a win in the first leg of a quarterfinal finally, but it didn't inspire a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
Especially for Wednesday. Today, look, I think a lot of the fans are just being really reactionary and freaking out. And then I saw you tweet earlier saying that people are kind of just assuming United will win the 2 games in hand and make up the gap and all that. It's not done yet, but
yeah,
it's just on the coming after what I think wasn't exactly a great performance on Tuesday, to follow it up with something like this. My biggest fear is that I just don't want it to phase them going into the second leg. Do you know what I mean? Do you think
it will do? Do you think it will? Do you think they'll this will play on the minds, or look? It could play on the minds. So there's 2 alternatives. It could really play on the minds if they think we lost and we weren't great at Dortmund, or it could be that there's a bunch of players that didn't play and they'll probably think, well, we're the first teamers and we'll be fine. Well, which way do you think it could possibly go?
It's good that like a lot of the first choice guys got to sit and rest, and I absolutely don't think, like, I saw a lot of fans saying Pep should have started KDB or brought him on at one point, or bring on or start Foden, or why wasn't Ruben one of the center backs today? they need a rest, and I was happy to see them get a rest today. You know,
Yeah.
I I'm I hope they can, because the thing is, I don't want to talk about the Dortmund game too much, but even like the ones who have been consistently solid so far this season, Rodri, Ruben, they weren't great against Dortmund. So I hope that the week off and getting a rest today, I hope that they can get back to the level that they were at. But I just hope that the result today doesn't just weigh on the team as a whole. You know what I mean? Like, I think they're mentally stronger, or stronger enough that it won't phase them. But
Yeah.
I don't know. That's like the one thing on my mind. The loss, it's not great. No, I don't think any fan likes to lose, especially given that they were down to 10 men for over half the game. I think that's not encouraging, but I don't think it'll matter in the long run. I think the league is pretty much still ours. We've won it for a while now, and yeah, I just hope that they can bounce back on Wednesday.
I'm sure they can. I feel like I'm alone here, but I don't know if this. I don't think we played that badly today. I mean, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bit naive, but to me, I look at the stats and they kind of tell the story that I know we weren't good. We weren't good. I'm not saying that, but I don't sit there today and see a terrible performance. I just saw a slightly underwhelming one. But I still think we created enough chances to win that game, and we should have won that game, and we were prolific getting goals.
That's just been the story for such a long time. Sorry to interrupt, but
no, it's fine. I'll go for it.
The story for a while, because you see the amount of chances created, how many shots we actually had. Leeds, I think they had 2 shots, and both of them. See, that's what pisses me off even more. Because
it was like last season, wasn't it?
Exactly. That's what I was saying. It's been the story for a while. So yeah, it's good that they're still creating chances, and so yeah, you're right in that we didn't play badly. But these are the things that cost the team, especially in these knockout games, right? That's been the problem for obviously last season, but even before that. There's been so many times. Again, I don't want to be in the past too much, but one game that comes to mind is the derby in 2018, the one at home, where if we put away the chances that we had in that first half, I know we were leading 2-0. If we put those chances away, game over. Title won against United, wrapped up. So it's just, that's what makes it frustrating, because it's not like the team struggles to create anything. I don't remember the last time I saw a City game where I was annoyed that things weren't happening.
Yeah,
right?
I know what you mean. And also, by the way, I just want to say, there's a super chat from Big Johnny. Thank you so much, Johnny. He raised the point. We had 27 shots, 1 went in. We need a striker.
We do need a striker, and there's no way around it. There's no way around it. I know Pep says, and I think he said in the press conference, he was like, we have Ferran, we have Jesus, Raheem can play false 9, and yeah, Raheem can play false 9, and I've seen a lot of people who have some choice words for Sterling after today and his form recently, but he needs to find that form again, and he needs to do it quickly, especially when this talk going on that he's supposedly the next City player to get an extension on his contract, and he supposedly wants the same kind of wages as KDB, and people are already saying he gets paid too much, and yeah, that's fucking bullshit, because that's warranted. Okay,
of course,
it's poor form. He's not a bad player. People are saying Sterling's not a good footballer. He's not talented. It's a fucking bunch of bullshit. Sorry for cursing, but
no, you're right, because that's clearly fundamentally that's true. Right now, he's playing like a bad footballer. I'm not denying that, but we all know. I mean, I've seen too many games where Sterling is absolutely just ran teams ragged with his pace and drive and his skill, and he's persistent. That Sterling at his best was bullish, persistent, and brilliant, and talented. Where he cut inside, beat 3 people, and put it into the far corner, and then he run that way, then this way, and that way, and he's driving everywhere. And we've seen him do it in the Champions League quite a lot as well, and a lot against Italian teams. I always remember his performances against like Napoli and Atalanta as well, when he was just everywhere. But right now, it feels like Sterling's highs are very high, but then his lows are painful, like painful to watch. I've got Andrew. Thank you so much for the super chat, by the way, Andrew. There's no comment, unfortunately, Andrew, but thank you so much. And also, this is hilarious because once again, someone's. I should leave this on a bit longer, but someone's just paid just to say Plastic Club. You're just giving me money just to try and insult the club, but this Plastic Club's going to win an awful lot of trophies. So thank you, Krubler Hussein. Thank you. But back to Andrew's comment on there. But so, what do you where do you stand on Gabriel Jesus? Because Gabriel Jesus and Sterling are really easily the most divisive players in the thing. What I will say, by the way, is do you remember everyone hating Rodri last year? Just the thing.
Yeah.
And now look where he is. That's always a relatively decent point. But where do you stand on Jesus anyway?
I think a lot of people sometimes don't realize that Jesus is still such a young player. Maybe it's because he joined City when he was literally a kid, right? He was still like he was brought in when he was what, 18, maybe 19, and he was immediately put into the team, right? And he started off great. You know, it seemed like he was always scoring, and I think him being 23 now, the one thing that's missing for Jesus is the same thing as we were talking about with Sterling, right? His finishing, because he does everything else so well, right? His pressing.
He's just turned 24, by the way. It's not a massive difference, but I've just noticed. I just googled it because I thought he turned 24.
His birthday that day.
It's a little bit old. It's not. I wouldn't say he's old, but he's definitely in the middle bit of his like career now. You know, the middle bit.
I just think that he still has enough time to fix the one thing that the City fans or anyone else that has anything to say about him is his finishing, right? Is he's not clinical, and that's fair. But I think given that he does everything else so well, you know,
he does. Even today, some of his Lincoln play was good as well.
I don't think he should be written off yet. That being said, he does need to start getting there. It's been a while now where he's kind of like it's the same with Sterling, as you said, right? The highs are high. It seems like, you know, he'll have a spell where he's playing really well, and then he'll, you know, fuck something up really easily, and then that will probably play on his mind, or that'll affect him mentally, and then it'll
seem very similar, don't they? Very similar, those two. Like
yeah.
And like they feel like they've also given us a lot, and we were very quick to forget it as well. But it's difficult because we got two forwards there essentially who are relatively key players. Yet they can let themselves down in big moments, but we know how good they can be. And I don't know if there's a frustration element of that where we know how should they could be. Andrew said here, big love Andrew for the super chat, mate. He said we need to play our strongest team. Why open the door for United? The other games are not a formality at all. Andrew, you're entitled to your opinion. You may be all right, mate. What I will say is Pep knows best. Pep does know best. And to be honest, man, if we played our strongest team than Andrew, they will get tired. And I would say they will get tired and they will get injured. And what I will say, by the way, if Pep was told he could play the players every single week, he would do it. The reason Pep doesn't do it is because they have a conditioning team and physios who go, if you play him, they have like a sliding scale. Someone was telling me before where the amount of games they play, like the likelihood of an injury, when the more games they play, he starts to reach, you know, and that's how they do it. They look at time spent and likelihood of an injury. It's why there were so many injuries at the start of the season, because there was no break and there was loads of random football and players didn't have preseason. So basically, Andrew, you're right. Play the strongest team, but the strongest team is it's contextual, isn't it? Really, I guess it depends on the circumstance. And Guardiola played the season we did today because we've got Dortmund coming up, and then we got Chelsea in the semi-final. So, where do you stand on this, Rehan? Sorry, not Rehan, Farsad.
Yeah, again, I think it's easy to say now that Pep should have put out a stronger side today. You know, maybe they can accuse him of saying he's not taking it seriously. It's giving United the chance to catch up or whatever. First of all, again, I just don't think that's going to happen. I think United,
I agree with that, by the way. I think we're overthinking that.
It's not. I think our team is way too good to collapse over. Well, how many games are left for us? 6.
6, yeah.
So it was 6 games, and United, they'll win, but they're not gonna win all their remaining games. I just don't think that's gonna happen. So, you know, so if Pep did put out a stronger side, and just imagine for a second, one of the like someone like KDB or Ruben or anyone else that some of the fans are saying should have played. Imagine one of them picked up an injury. We're fucked. And then
Yeah.
something goes wrong against Dortmund in the second leg, and then what can you say? And then people would say, "Oh, Pep fucked up because he shouldn't have played them, knowing that Dortmund was coming up."
Yeah.
Pep didn't get to where he is without knowing what he's doing, and without trusting the people that he works with, right? The team, like you said, the conditioning team, the health staff, the doctors, or whatever. They know what they're doing. This is their job. This is their profession. I'm sure it was an informed decision.
Like, one thing I will say is, like, I'm sorry to pull you out here, Rohan, but I mean, this comment. And Rohan, what I will say is, please shut up if you don't know what you're talking about. Because Rohan, let's face it, Pep took this one lightly. He should have played Aguero. Aguero's injured. Like, this feels like what people do. And Rohan, I'm sure you're a lovely person, Rohan, but this great example of what people do is they lead to conclusions without reading around it. He's literally injured, and he wasn't on the big team today because he's not trained for 4 days. So what? Like, this is a great example of people criticizing without really thinking or reading around it. And Rohan, I'm not trying to pull you out as a person, but I had to pull that out because it's a good example of people immediately jump into point fingers without looking at the bigger picture around it. And once again, mate, I'm not trying to pull you out because I'm sure you're a lovely guy, Rohan. But that's a great example of where, like, we need to stop and think sometimes, or even look at the bench. He wasn't there, and like, it's like, come on, like, we're finding a reason to have a go at someone sometimes. And I'm sure it's an honest mistake, but like, it's not fair. It's like, because all that stuff feeds into this whole bigger picture, and it frustrates me personally. This super chat as well here from SS East says, would Delap get a header on those crosses today? Probably, mate. Probably actually would, yeah. For what it's worth, I probably would have had Delap involved instead of Garcia on the bench, but we know Garcia is a Pep Guardiola favourite. Delap played last night for what it's worth, and they're still going for the Premier League 2 title, which doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but obviously matters to the under 23 coach. But yeah, he would have. He definitely would have had his head on. He's definitely a better finisher than anyone in that first team by some strong way. But either way, Farside, I'm going to end it here, man, if that's all right, because it's still like bright outside for once, and the football's over. So I want to go and actually open the curtains so I can actually get out and see some fresh air and get over this game. But thank you so much for coming on, man. I've really appreciated it. And likewise to everyone else who's been on, Lagan, Saffy, and who else was on, Rehan and Joe as well. For now, though, guys, thank you so much for watching. My match reaction is up. So if you want my thoughts on the game, I've given some already. Go and check out my match reaction video. Farside, you're an absolute legend. Thank you for supporting the channel, mate. I really appreciate it. Catch you. See you in a bit, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.